Today I'm going to talk about perfect fourths tuning, part 10, triads, and how to practice for tone, clarity, intonation, and variety. Some practice goals to have. So, perfect fourths tuning is tuning fourths straight across the guitar. So, standard tuning, E, A, D, G, B, E. On my other guitar, I have it tuned up, so E, A, D, G, C, F. This one is tuned down, E flat, A flat, D flat. I just take the four lowest strings and tune them down a half step, and then so you get perfect fourths all the way across like this. Sounds a little bit weird. Whoops, that sounds terrible. That's better. And since this is a Strat, a real Fender Bullet Strat anyway, I think it sounds a lot better with the tune down. There's a link in the description to some PDFs about triads. So first of all, I think why practice as an adult? Like as a kid, you could do guitar practice, but as an adult, you might have different reasons for practicing. Maybe back in the day when you're in high school, you say, "Hey, man, I want to be a rock star." Now, maybe not so much. So practice is really good for meditation and relaxation. It's a good creative outlet for just letting your mind go, and improving it at any skill helps you stay engaged. If you're transitioning in your life from one stage to another, it helps you stay in tune, helps your brain stay active, and it's a valuable activity by itself. Like yoga practice, you just do your yoga and stretches, no matter what comes out, you improved a little bit. Same with guitar practice with this type of mindset. Not just set the metronome and drill, even though that's an important part of playing guitar. The way I'm talking about practicing is a little bit kind of deeper, is a little bit of a loaded word, but different pace, practicing a different pace. And it helps shut off your inner chatterbox. So if you're practicing music, you're thinking in music notes. You're not thinking about what that jerk said to you at the office or whatever. You're just thinking about your notes. So it's really good for changing gears, like coming from a stressful environment back home, or stressful environment to stressful environment or whatever. It's a good way to just relax. It's a good thing to have. And when you think about theory and scales and learning patterns, it's just like playing Sudoku or Tetris or something like that. And it's good to keep your mind active. So, and excuse me, when you're grinding through the exercises and repetition, at that moment, it might not always register that you're doing something. You just pick up your instrument and say, okay, for 5 minutes I'm going to play triads. I'm going to play them slowly, or whatever it is. For 5 minutes I'm going to try to play this trill really fast. But just go ahead and do it. Don't think about it too much and say, this is my 5 minutes I'm going to spend doing this. And over time, you're going to really feel some improvement. So, metronome work is important. This part is not about that. There's plenty of guys that can play guitar way better than me that teach you how to play faster and move your pick more efficiently and all that stuff. This type of practice here is you want to focus on tone, clarity, and intonation. And one of the best ways to do that is to play very slowly, very slow note, no time, just trying to get the note to sound good. So instead of playing like a dead note like this, you play your finger right behind the fret. Like, how can I make that sound clearer, right? Or how can I make it sustainable? What if I play it with this finger and I have a deadening finger behind it? That's a little different. Small differences. People like Miles Davis and John Coltrane, they would hold one note for hours and just really explore it. And so you just go ahead and experiment. And with an electric guitar, even an acoustic guitar, there's all kinds of experimenting that you can do. And this type of practice can be done, anytime. And another thing, give yourself permission to practice it like this. For the longest time, I was like, well, unless I have my metronome out and I'm really knocking out my, my quarter notes or 16th notes, whatever, that's not really practicing. But this is just a different type of practice making sounds. So you give yourself a little permission. Say, hey, I'm going to yeah, I'm gonna whatever. I'm gonna work on feedback for an hour and just go nuts. Do Sonic Youth. To have your own Sonic Youth session. But it's also like a first principles practice. Like, okay, I'm playing guitar. I've been playing for whatever decades, and it sounds kind of gack, kind of sloppy. So let's find out what that is. Play super slow and say, oh, with me, I have a hand injury from mosh pit in a Meshuggah concert when I was 52 years old. Kids, don't do that. But anyway, I broke this finger, so now I don't have the mobility that I used to. So I have to make adjustments. So it's part of this kind of practice. And it's like, what can I still do? Right? Django Reinhardt could shred pretty well with two fingers, so I could probably make it happen with what I've got. Also, it's good to kind of walk before you run. If you can't make a good tone when that's all you're trying to do, you're not going to be able to make a good tone when you're trying to play faster either. So, this is a saying, one of my favorites. It's attributed, I think, to Bill Gates. But you overestimate what you can do in a month, but you underestimate what you can do in a year. So if you think you're going to sound like totally amazing in a month, maybe not. But if you do this type of exercise to really increase your tone, improve your tone from ground level up, you're going to sound way better in a year. And you're going to, do this for a couple of months, and I'm not sure what's happening. And then you put on a jam track maybe that you had from before. It's like, oh wow, I sound way better. So again, to kind of continue to emphasize this, you want to practice slowly and deliberately. So it's okay, like to spend an hour, play a triad. Whoops, that sounds a little better. This note sounds a little dead. And just let myself, I don't have to raise up the neck. I just have to fix my finger position. Alright, that's starting to sound a little better. I can still hold this and say, what if I pick it like this? What if I pick it like this? So anyway, but just give yourself the permission to just sit there and really make a single note. Whoops. Make single notes and small chords sound good. You want to focus on the 4 parts of this exercise of tone, clarity, intonation, and variation as you move through the triads. So I'll go into a little bit more detail about what it is, and be very mindful of your technique. So if you're slumped over in a chair or sitting on a sofa, or your guitar is like this and your hand's not good, you want to really pay attention. It's like, well, if you have your guitar like this, and it's like, well, I can't get my fingers in an arc. Well, why is that? Well, hold your guitar better. It's beyond the scope of what I'm doing here, and get your fingering correct. There's other videos that show you how to do that, and then it will start to come together more for you. But as you're paying attention, it's like, oh, this is comfortable or not comfortable, and why is it comfortable or not comfortable? Oh, I should sit up a little straighter, or my guitar angle is not sitting well for me. So make those like small adjustments and take this time to think about those things instead of your speed or whatnot. So you can change, even with this much, you can still do a lot with your right hand, your picking style, whether you do your fingers or play simultaneously, like with a snap or whatever. It's really, you could still have a lot of variety in this type of exercise. And you want to separate practicing from playing, so that even when you're, like, you do sit-ups in order to play tennis better, you do this kind of work in order to play guitar better. So you're not really going to go out there and do sit-ups when you're playing tennis, just like you're not going to sit on a chord for 20 seconds on a simple major triad. But if you do it here and see, well, how long can I sustain, or why did it not sustain? Those kind of questions. Just really explore the guitar for yourself. So the 4 core goals is the tone, quality of one note at a time, clarity, if you have all the notes ringing in a chord together, your intonation, how well you're in tune, and because with the frets, with fretless, you have to do the same thing, but with the frets, It's just intonation, so that you, sorry, you get that right? No. I didn't say it right. Anyway, it's cutting the octave into equal spots, and the true tones are not exactly on the frets. So when you learn to intonate better by slight finger pressure, your chords are going to sound better. So then we'll get a little bit more into that. And also the variety of just like realizing how many different ways you can play the same three notes, kind of infinite. Okay, so to go over tone, you want a single noise-free note. And you can go with vibrato or reverb or not, and think about what that feels like, and whether you do reverb like this, or do this circular vibrato like this, or what else? Wrist vibrato back and forth, or like this, or like a good clear tone that will last, and so forth. And you can do it all over the neck. And you can say this note or this note, whoops, and play it here, whoops, oh mess. See how it starts to sound a lot different? Like this one here is a lot different than this one. It's a lot different than this one. Whoops. Ugh, I gotta work on that. But anyway, that's part of tone. On the guitar, you figure Eric Johnson did a really good video about playing the same note for different effects. Like if you play this note here, your third fret kind of G sound sounds a lot different than here, sounds a lot different than here, sounds a lot different than there. Same exact note in the same octave, but it sounds totally different depending on where you play it. So also your amp tone, obviously, but you play different. So if you have it's kind of like a challenging tone, like edge breakup tone, and you have like a spacey tone, experiment that. Like, what do you need to do with your fingers to have that come out better? Also, you combine the amp tone with your pickups. So the Strat, you got great pickup selection. So that sounds not that good with that one. So if I have the out of phase sound, that's starting to sound better. I might go with number 4 position. That's better. That maybe is more what I'm going for. I've got a lot of reverb, so if I do a shift like this, the notes clash. So it's something to think about with your tone and whether you want that or not. It's part of the exploration. And also in your right hand, whether you're playing with a pick, with your finger, whether you're snapping the note, plucking the note, the millions of ways you can play a note. Your right hand, muting at different levels, totally different tones and sounds. Another person that has done great videos on this and who does it a lot, Adrian Ballou. He'll sit there he came up with this whole electronics rig. He just played. Like he would play for hours at a time, just for making his guitar make noise. And it was really good. So position on the fingerboard, we already went over that. And clarity is how well the notes in a chord ring together. That's really what I mean by clarity is how well you're putting your fingers down. So for clean, sustained tone. So I'm hearing 3 notes at once, which is what I want in this case. You want to make sure your fingers are curled over where they need to be. In order to make the notes ring out independently. So if you're fretting a note badly, you have to fix this. Like, oh, why is this bad? I'm doing the chords that are easier for me because I don't want to embarrass myself. But I've forever had problems with bar chords. So I want to make sure there's 4 notes ringing out, and if they're not, I have to figure out why. But by allowing myself, by giving myself permission to just sit here and really play the chord. Play the chord gives me trouble. And really practice where my fingers are. And play the same chord up here. Whoops. Whoops. You can tell I avoid practicing that. And my notes are uneven. So that's something for me to practice. I usually just don't play that chord in that position. But well, why not? You gotta learn. And also the amp tone, fuzz, compression, and that's a whole other thing. But so right now I have this kind of dreamy tone. So if I go back to more edge of breakup tone, it's a little bit cleaner. But if I put on a fuzz tone, the requirements for clarity they're kind of different. You know, you're going to play differently depending on what your amp tone is. So that's also something to keep in mind. And your note choice. So whether you choose to play a triad like this, that sounds kind of lame. That's better, or open a little bit. Whoops. Or using an open string if I have one here. So that's that's the other thing to work on. Your right hand, of course, as before, and your position on the fingerboard, like I just did. So it's going to have a certain sound. I just want to demonstrate that it's hard. But with Perfect Forest, you notice I have the same sound in different positions with the same shape. That's super important to trying to relearn the guitar in an easy way that Perfect Forest allows you to do. And intonation is something to work on, how in tune the notes are with each other. So you start with a good instrument setup, which is beyond the scope of this. And you want to hear a pure tone with no beating sound. What I mean by beating sound is this. And now we're in tune. So that's the octave. So it's kind of easy to hear, but you can also hear it in thirds. So if I'm too sharp on one of my notes here, so a lot of times when you're trying to make a shape that's not comfortable for you, not familiar with you, you pull some sharp. So you have to really practice with a light touch and have the tones come out well. And if you're playing like a triad, sometimes you just put your fingers down, sounds kind of not so great. So you might have to. So here I'll play sharp. Fix it with your fingers as you play. So there's something to work on. It's hard to hear if you're playing quickly. So if I just play this, it just sounds like kind of okay, but if I play it slowly, it's like, yeah, that sounds a little bit off. It's very subtle. You see I tuned it up, so that's tuned up. And that's not tuned up. You hear a little warbling. Sounds clear. So when you practice that really slowly, when you just go and grab that chord in the middle of playing, you're more likely to hit the intonation better. And again, you want to pay attention to your hand position, your body position, the position of your guitar, all that stuff that will help you make it comfortable, and you're going to do it with making small adjustments. So if the note is sounding sharp, you're pushing down too hard. And so you work on getting your fingers light and soft, and if you're out of position, your body's telling you, your ears are telling you that your body's not in the right position. Or it might also, if it's really bad, your guitar might not be set up well. You have to check. You have to check your intonation, or if your strings are old, stuff like that can cause problems. And also your position on the fingerboard. So if you're playing a chord here, playing the same chord here, you have different intonation struggles. So as you're playing the same shape in different positions on the neck, you're going to have to make slightly different finger adjustments to have it sound really clear on your guitar. And in terms of variety, that's what music is. The variety patterns is basically infinite. You can do it with your right hand techniques, patterns, left hand techniques of muting or not muting, or harmonics or whatever. And again, your position on the fingerboard. So to practice this way, I recommend playing chord shapes up the neck slowly, and this could take 10 minutes to do it, but just take your time, what's your hurry. So you might start say at the 5th fret with major triad, move across, make sure you're in tune, and then go up a fret, and try this with at different speeds, different tempos, different amp tones. All that stuff can help you get nuance into your playing. And this is maybe not something you want to do every single day, but something to say, I want to, you have to work on something. You have to work on something. So work on something different. Let's throw this in there. That very slow practice. And if you go all the way up the neck, you'll find that if you're doing triads way up here, oops, let me go back one. And for me, for many years I was just E, E, E. That's where I played. Key of E here, and key of E here. And I never played anything up here. But after practicing like this, I'm like, oh, okay, I learned where to put my hand way up here and play something useful all the way up here at this last fret. And playing a triad, up there is way different than playing it here. So anyway, enjoy that, and then variety. In terms of variety, you can play, I've been doing a little bit of it. So say we start at the 5th fret here, and you play the 3rd, and play the 3rd and the 5th. Oops, ran out of frets. But anyway, play up one. So you can give yourself variety. So variety in all varieties. How you play, how you attack the note with your right hand, your left hand. Again, this is not the. This is more of an exploratory approach to practicing these sounds. So thanks. I hope you got some value out of that. For my next videos, I'm going to be going through more technique and theory, I guess, is what you could say. Here are my books. The first book on the left-hand side with the Les Paul on the cover is more of a kind of changing your thinking from standard tuning into perfect force tuning. And then the next book is a deep study in triads. So I'll be going over the triads book over the next few videos. I hope to see you there. Have a great day.